The lesson.
Oh, yeah.
Quro.
Hey man, how you doing?
Good, man.
Thanks for having me on. It was a real honour to come back to Adelaide and do this. Thank you.
Man, thanks for rolling through. As soon as we heard, Social Change gave us a heads up that you were coming through, and instantly we're like, yep, got to get him in for a chat. You've been quite an intricate part, I guess, of the history of Australian hip hop, particularly in South Australia.
Yeah.
Now, to my understanding, you're one of the original members of Finger Lickin Good.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And that's Madcap and Groove Terminator.
That's right, and myself. And that was the first piece of vinyl that ever came out of the state. The first kind of hip hop record. We had a tape earlier, which was really crap, to be honest. And that was, really kind of amongst the first stuff that ever came out of here. I mean, we had pioneers before us. We had Unity and Point Blank, who are amazing. But really nothing got put down, So the idea of putting out a piece of vinyl was quite a moment.
So what was the name of the first, LP that you guys put out?
It's called Illegitimate Sons of the Bastard Funk.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that was what, 91?
So no, that record came out in about 93. But we had a tape which came out before that, which was basically just us drunk, talking about passing around beers. It was kind of beer raps before Melbourne did beer raps, which is now all the rage. Everyone's doing that. Yeah.
But so you guys actually had that on a cassette?
Yeah.
Like, was it a dub cassette or actual release?
I think it's called Southern Fried.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So it tied in with the whole chicken thing.
And then, so what year would that have been?
So that was 92, and I'm pretty certain the Finger Lickin Good EP came out in 93, and so not long after we named ourselves Finger Lickin Good, Beastie Boys did their Check Your Head album, which had the song Finger Lickin Good, and we ended up being in a band supporting them over at the Old Lion in North Adelaide.
Yeah, right.
So it's this weird kind of, it's like everything that I find in the city, it's like this weird confluence of events, It's amazing. So
then I guess, if we even go back to before you guys started putting out music, tell us a bit how you got into hip-hop, around what time and what sort of groups you were listening to and stuff.
Sure. So look, I'd have to say that, and excuse my voice, man, I've been in the studio here, which has been an experience. Knocked out some song from Social Change, which is amazing, and Inkswell and stuff. It's been great. So in high school, Brighton High, I met Derek Madcap, and we became really close friends. And he tried breastfeeding me, and I said, "Look, dude, just don't do that. I'm just not interested in that, But no, we became really close friends, right? And I tried to be sort of like a writer, graffiti artist, and I was just really crap, right? Like, let's be honest, like, just really crap. And then I remember a time actually down by the Torrens where the festival centre is, and there was a kind of like a free concert where I saw who I consider to be the real pioneers from this state. So it was Risk, it was Parrish, it was Madcap, it was MC Say, it was Groove Terminator, basically doing this kind of concert, and I watched this thing. I remember, like I was talking to Derek about it. I've been in the Philippines, and I was talking to him about it. I remember this thing. I was watching this thinking, I could do that. This is great. Like, I could do that. I didn't think I had musicality in me, but I could do that. And then there was another gig at, it was a club that used to be called Bass. It's changed names about 300 times down on Highley Street. And there was another Unity gig. So it was Parrish and Risk and Madcap. And I remember that was the night I just looked at this and I was like, I can be a rapper. I can write. I can do this. It's going to take training or whatever. But, like there was, the number of people who were involved at that time was a handful, It was a handful. And when I started doing it, like it was 17 or so. And, like when we'd play up at the Austral up here, not far from where we are now, we'd be spat on by people because we rap with an Australian accent. Seriously, it was quite confronting, Go on tour to Melbourne or whatever, and people would be like getting up on you because you're And that was our whole thing, you know. So we took our cues from AKA Brothers out of Melbourne. We took our cues from Mama Funksticles. We took our cues from Ransom because, you know, they were all on that, right, which was be ourselves. And took our cues from Defrish Cast, you know, even, you know, my man Sarek, you know, he's a legend, he's a giant, and I'm recording with him now. And we all recognise that here was an art form that we could utilise to do something that hadn't been done before. And there was nothing. We had no internet. We had no radio show. We had no apparatus for talking about what we did. It was all phone calls on landlines, right? It was crazy. And when I think about it, like I think about now about, you know, hip hop message boards, and, you know, everyone's got Facebook, and, you know, I'm going back into this thing after a decade of being out, and, you know, I'm being told I have to have this and I've got to do this. And I'm like, back in the day, we had nothing. We hadn't, like, seriously, you had nothing to promote yourself. You sent your record off in the mail and hoped that somebody cared enough about it. It's crazy. It's such a difference, man.
And then, so how did you actually start to make some of those rapports with the guys in Melbourne and Sydney? Did that come after the release?
No, it sort of came a bit before. So there were so few of us, right? Honestly, there were so few of us. It was kind of like this ragtag bunch of people. So, you know, had kind of Reason in Melbourne. You had Hams and Felicity up in Brisbane, kind of thinking about things and doing things and making art. You know, had your kind of writers all over the country who, you know, we kind of all overlaid with, but sometimes there were problems with all that. You know, had Defwish in Defwish Cast in Sydney. It was small, man. It was small. And, you know, once you kind of smelt that somebody was doing something, you'd be outreaching to them. So we did a show in 92 in Sydney, which was a DJ Blaze had a benefit for his magazine Vapors, which was a very early kind of hip hop graffiti magazine. And I just want to point out, if Blaze is going to watch this, that he never actually put out the magazine after we did the benefit for it, after paying for ourselves to get there. So thanks, Jason. That's amazing. But you know, that was the sort of thing of coming together, right? Like, so we got a call from, I think it was from Blaze or from Sarek, saying, "Can you come to Sydney?" So Derek and I, Makeup and I, spent 24 hours on the bus. You know, Firefly, off we went. 'Cause couldn't afford a flight. We stayed in the Cross in this dreadful apartment with cockroaches and whatever, and sleeping in a room with Madcap is, you know, seriously, I've done it a few times. I wouldn't recommend it. Sorry, Lynn, if Lynn's watching. And, you know, so we get to this thing, and there's this angry dude with fucking plaits in his hair. He's going, I'm sorry. With plaits in his hair. He's like, "I'm Sarek, I'm unique." I'm like, "Motherfucker," you know, kind of like, "Dude, look at you, dude. I thought you were bigger than that. I thought you were a big man. You're a teeny man." And that's how the connections happened. And then we get a call. I think probably one of the pivotal things was in terms of how we, you know, all this linked up. So in '93 on the Knights of the Underground Table album, the Defwish Cast album, there's a song called Saga. And so we basically were in Western Sydney, staying there. We'd just done the Defwish Cast film clip for what's it called? Down Under Coming Upper, which is the worst film clip ever from my perspective because I look amazing. But, you know, so we had this film clip where there's kind of like Reason and Murmur from IQ. We had, you know, Brethren were there, like all these like old heads, right? Suddenly like gathering in a car park in Blacktown, filming this film clip. And then we went and did, we basically went and did a song. And it was like, you know, you've got everyone on this song from the period, like bang, 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 all recorded in, I don't think it was Defrish's house, maybe it was Sarek's house. And that was just one of those pivotal moments where all those people in that room, to this day, if I see them on the street, I hug. Well, you know, these were kind of really important moments because we felt here that there was nobody else who gave a crap about what we did. You know, Defwish Cast were out in Western Sydney thinking, you know, nobody cared what they were doing, you know. Reason and Murmur down in Melbourne with Intense Quality, they sort of felt the same, you know. It's that thing of like, all of a sudden it's like, oh, you kind of do what I do. And then Madcap and I put on Voices of the Underground here, which was, I think I'm getting the chronology right, I might be wrong, but so So we brought over here urban poets from Sydney, funky nomads, Death Wish Cast, whole bunch of people. It was the first real kind of big all-in Australian hip-hop jam. And it's this weird old cinema, which I think's been knocked out. I think Kentucky Fried Chicken's in there now on Highley Street. So it's this amazing kind of old cinema with this amazing kind of stage and whatever. And we all played. And for Adelaide, it was the first time that there'd been this kind of coming together of Australian hip hop.
So that's after like you've gone to Sydney.
I actually can't remember which bit came
But it's
first.
around that sort of time.
It's early onset dementia, dude. So I'm not 100% sure. Yeah. Yeah. But it was around the same time, right? So it was all this coming together of people, and we had urban poets, Ed and Il Pickle, who was part of Moonrock, worked with Catalyst. He's passed away. Bless his soul. But they're like bringing people here who had never come to Adelaide before to play, had never been afforded an opportunity, and suddenly all these links start happening, right? Like there's amazing links between people, and years later, right? So Sarek placed a call to Madcap saying, "Can you guys come for a film clip?" We say, "Can you come for this gig?" Blah blah blah. Years later, I'm at Next Level Records working behind the counter with Sarek for 2 years. Now I'm back in the studio recording with him, which is hard because all we do is kind of talk shit about everything else. And I'm like, dude, I just want to make some music, man. And he's like, nah, man, we gotta. But it's this amazing interactions between these people, and I've always felt very very honored to be kind of one of those people. And it's the same with the kind of graffiti artists. Last night I went and saw Cab at his studio in Prospect. I wear on my neck a pendant which Cab designed and his partner Sue's made. So Q for Quro.
Oh,
and
word.
I wore this for every gig for pretty much 10 years. In the last decade, I took it off and it sat in a jar on my wall. When I got back in the studio with Sarek, pulled this around my neck. And I'm honored to know these people. These are legends. These are giants. Right? And there's just these amazing linkages between people.
Yeah,
But people shouldn't forget that.
The lesson. 927. Oh, yeah.